Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Lane. I'm the CEO of Acuity, and welcome to my panel, talking about important technicalities, the factors that make trading technology tick. With me today, I have 5 panelists from around the world, and I would like to introduce them. And first to be introduced is Andy. Please take the floor.
Hello everyone, my name is Andreas Livadiotis and I am the CEO and founder of XValley Technologies.
Next up is Chris.
Hi everybody, thank you for having me in today's panel. My name is Christoforos Theodoulou. I'm the head of global business at MetaQuotes. For those which does not know MetaQuotes, we are the software vendors of MetaTrader trading platforms, as well as for Finteza, which is an analytics system, and also Teamworks, which is a groupware collaboration software for companies.
Thanks, Chris. Next up is Evgeny.
Hi all, I'm Evgeny Sorokin, the head of research and development at Devexperts, and we are mostly recognized for delivering custom trading platforms for brokers, investment firms, exchanges around the globe.
Great, thanks, Evgeny. Next up is Natalia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natallia Hunik. I'm a Chief Revenue Officer at Advanced Markets Group. I'm responsible for organization's revenue growth, including strategic marketing, sales, and commercial operations. Advanced Markets is a true prime of prime and institutional liquidity provider, licensed by ASIC in Australia and FCA in the UK, and we're operating globally. Advanced Markets Group practices 100% DMA model and has Macquarie Bank and Cantor Fitzgerald as major investors.
Thank you, Natalia. And finally, but not least, Maor, please.
Oh, I lost the window, so I can't see you. So that's an issue.
Please just introduce yourself. It's fine. We can see you.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Maor Lahav, broadcasting from Israel. 15 years ago, I started with a partner, Panda Trading Systems. 15 years after, today we are 120 employees. We are developing the broker operating systems. It's a full set of technologies that allow a broker to run any department within a single infrastructure. And I'm glad to be here with the amazing members of the panel.
Thanks, Maor. And I'm pretty glad I got you guys to introduce yourselves because I definitely couldn't have done as good a job. But let's get started. So the first subject I want to talk about today is one of speed. And speed can cover many different facets of trading technology. So I'm going to go to Andy first with my first question. In trading platforms, where do we need to focus on speed? And is there a difference in platform providers?
Absolutely, there is a difference between different platform providers. And in a system, you need to focus everywhere. It has to be fast. It has to have quick loading screens, quick access, fast execution and pricing, reporting, monitoring, and of course, compliance and risk management. You need to serve your clients as fast and as reliable and consistent as possible.
You mentioned compliance there. It's not something I'm really familiar with when it comes to speed. So could you elaborate a little bit more on why speed is so important to compliance in those areas?
For example, you may have a client who is trying to register and he's a person, a politically exposed person. If you don't have a system that is fast enough to recognize and you register this person without the necessary compliance, you create a risk to the future of the broker.
Interesting. So compliance in PEPs and such forth, and speed. But does speed bring risks that you could make mistakes, especially with regards to PEPs? I mean, these are really complicated issues in getting the right identity. How do we weigh up between getting the right person and speed?
Let's say you have a client who wants to register. And if you don't have a fast system that will be able to be used by a mobile app, let's say, that he will upload a selfie, a passport, a proof of address, and you keep the clients waiting for days, manual process, you annoy them basically. This client will probably go away to a faster system, to a faster provider, to a faster broker that will allow him to open and invest. Maybe an opportunity gets lost when you are delaying the onboarding process.
That's interesting, actually. I see where you're coming from. I've got a recent example myself, opening up, I think it was a Revolut account, and it was extremely quick in getting my account open. But I live in Spain, and opening a bank account here can be something that takes weeks. So I can see the logic in that. Okay. So moving on to my next question, I'm going to start talking about liquidity with Natalia. In terms of liquidity, I'm going to start this story from, I remember when I started in the markets, we used to measure speed by seconds, perhaps. And then we started, I used to work for a news provider, and we started sending data really, really quickly. And then we had different types of wire to send data quicker. And then we moved into microwaves, I think now, and we measure it in microseconds. And instead of writing words, we use dots, everything to eke out a little bit more speed. And nowadays, in terms of news, my area, speed has become less of a thing. I believe it's now done by microwaves. But in terms of liquidity, where do you see speed nowadays? Is it still important? Will it still be important in the future? Should we be still trying to eke out more efficiencies in speed?
I believe so. I mean, I think, of course, especially on the institutional side of things, speed is still a defining criteria. Realistically speaking, I think there's huge room for improvement in terms of the execution speed in FX. I mean, particularly when we're talking about the retail FX, execution speed in FX is far behind the equities trade, and on NASDAQ, the orders execute in less than 1 millisecond. And if you look at the whole universe of brokers out there, I'm talking about particularly retail brokers. I mean, I think I've done some research on that in the past. I was reading the algo trading webinar on one of the conferences, and the statistics that I found showcase that the fastest MT4 broker was at 85 milliseconds, and in terms of the round trip execution from the client's perspective. And there's many parts that go into that, right? I mean, it's client's connectivity, it's your server setup, it's your liquidity setup, things like that. When we're speaking on the institutional side of things, I mean, yes, especially depending on the strategy, but if we're talking about the HFT strategies, I mean, they are certainly require much faster access to market, and so that's when we talk about co-locations, cross connects, making sure the servers are in the same data center, and so on. So I think, yes, in terms of efficiencies and looking for efficiencies in execution speed, there's a ton of room to improve in FX.
Okay.
Andrew, allow me to retort.
Sorry, say that again?
Yeah, allow me to retort, please.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So,
carry on.
An unpopular opinion that retail brokers... Sorry, Maor?
Sorry, my bad.
Right. So I feel that the retail brokers don't usually need as much speed as everybody loves to claim they need. If you STP all your flow, it won't matter whether the processing of an order took 1 millisecond or 100 microseconds, and it's already a tenfold difference, right? brokers won't suffer from stale quotes because the clients who try to employ arbitrage techniques will be executed at a fair LP's price, whereas the broker still earns a guaranteed markup. Of course, if you book at least a fraction of your flow, it's the opposite, and the end-to-end performance of your setup becomes much more important, but it's not related to the liquidity aspect, right? It's more about market data provision and the whole reliability of the end-to-end setup. So that's my opinion.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think, as I said, a lot depends on your setup. And, if you are deployed, and there's like a bit of a dissonance in the market. Sometimes if you look at the brokers who are STPing versus the ones that are, running the risk from the trader's perspective, a lot of times, the market maker will be faster, but, there's other deficiencies, coming in based on your model, including the execution speed.
Okay. This is actually something you brought up earlier, Natalia, that interests me. You were talking about FX versus equity, and I'll move on to some of the other panelists in a second, but I just want to ask you about this. In the world of FX, we rely, it's not on exchange, and you were talking about how equities are executed a lot quicker, but they are on exchange pretty much the whole time, unless we're talking about derivatives, I guess. But doesn't that make a difference? And the fact that FX has so many liquidity pools in different locations, is that an issue for the reason why you're talking about this lack of speed?
Yes, absolutely. I think the market is, of course, OTC market in general is much more fragmented, and you do have, as you said, all those pools with different setups and different speeds. And of course, compared to the equities market, FX also, is a bit on the darker side, where we don't I think I was also reading some report. There's only 15% of orders executed in FX are being published, versus in equities, it's a huge difference. And so absolutely, I think it the fact that FX is OTC and is fragmented market, it plays a huge role in execution speeds as well.
Okay. This is a question actually feeding on from Natalia's about speed, and I'm going to ask Chris about this, about an unplanned question, but how important is speed for the retail user? We're talking about high frequency traders, professional traders and all this, but is it really an important issue for the average Joe on the street, speed of execution, whether it's 85 milliseconds or 1 millisecond? Chris.
Okay, so when we're talking about the retail traders, you need to understand from where you're getting those retail traders. Most brokers, they are global, and they have a website. But the brokers, usually they don't know how long it takes for their website to load. So for an example, you are a broker in, let's say in the UK, but you also accept traders from, let's say somewhere in the Middle East. But the traders in the Middle East, to access your website, maybe it takes more than 5 seconds, for an example. So it's very important to make sure that you know that it's different loading times for different countries, and you need to find a mechanism to analyze this and to see how you can better serve your market. So because we see that this is important, the reason why it's important is because brokers, they have a web trader on their website, whether it's a MetaTrader 5 web terminal or whether it's something else. During that time, for them to access, most of the times they lose either clients or they lose leads and so on. And the same applies if they are accessing it from their mobile device and so on. So to tackle this, we have introduced a system that is called Finteza Analytics, and it allows you to analyze your websites like on a global scale or on a global map, and to see how long it takes you to load your sites and also your different terminals and so on. And you can see in detail that it takes these milliseconds to load the images, this number of milliseconds to load the scripts, these milliseconds to load the iframe of the web terminal, and so on, and you can work on that. So that's one part of the speed. Now, the second part regarding the speed for the retail traders, if you have high frequency traders, which they are using algos, they need to focus on speed, and speed is very important for them. So what we did over the years, we have made it possible to give access to high frequency traders to the masses globally from one interface. And for them, it's very important from the data delivery to the trade execution to give them the possibility to analyze instantly any type of markets they want to analyze, huge amounts of data using hundreds of analytical tools. So it must be as fast as possible. We're not back in the day where you were gonna do a strategy testing only on one instrument. Now with MetaTrader 5, you can do on multiple instruments, and to achieve this, we have made a lot of updates in our platform in order to be able to cope with bigger type of market data and to be able to analyze this data many times per second. Now, the quoting speed in terms of market data, it's very important for the algo traders to be able to use their trading robots and so on. And since the robots, they need to receive the quotes, to analyze them, to perform a trade as soon as possible, and to take the best of the market conditions to do so, we need to make sure that they have the highest speed possible. So what we did, we have deployed our own data centers through the MQL5 cloud network type of hosting. So any trader that needs to access the fastest possible connection, where they can actually see the difference between their terminal on their PC with the VPS of MQL5 compared with the broker they want to connect to, they get a real-time difference. For an example, if I connect from my desktop now to advanced markets, for an example, server to test an algo or to trade, it's going to tell me I have about 100 milliseconds. But if I will use either my VPS, MQL5 VPS, or another dedicated VPS, I will see that that is going to be reduced to as low as 5 milliseconds. So with this way, you can solve this problem very easily.
That's
By
what
the
I was
way,
also
if you
going to say.
buy MT5, you're solving all of your problems, right, Chris? Also marriage-related problems, not just technicals.
Marriage-related
I was
problems
actually
is not recommended for marriage-related problems, but for trading problems, yes, this is what we are aiming to do.
No, I say MT5 was really released, and MetaQuotes are pushing them, and definitely we can see the effect on the speed. On our arena within the network of brokers, 99% of traders don't really care about speed because it's all about frequency of trades. But definitely you can have some traders that are trying to do an arbitrage on the broker, specifically if he is a market maker, and the speed of the data feeds on the back end important in order to protect the brokers. Advanced market also, I must say, one of the fastest execution in the market. And as an LP, it's all about when news are coming, because on a regular market condition, everything is okay, speed is usually the same. But when we have NFP or when we have critical events and the market is moving fast, then you need to know who is the liquidity provider that will give you a fast execution. And I must say, advanced market, we have clients that's working with them and they are really good in execution, specifically when in specific areas where other LPs are slow. I don't know if you know, but LPs can actually configure the speed of execution. And when you take a liquidity provider, you need to check not only one time, but specifically on news announcement or during all of the trades, what is the speed of execution, and of course, what is the price that you're getting, because we see a lot of LPs that are really quick, but they're giving you a really bad price. So speed it's important, but you need also to care about the other parameters.
Interesting. Following on from something you just said there, Maor, I have a question about order routing around events. Again, I come from a news background, and I'm always fascinated about how you can use news and technology. And you were saying around news events such as non-farm payroll, it's hard to it's hard for liquidity providers. Are there liquidity providers out there that can use, or are there technology providers out there that can adapt to news events, for example? So when non-farm payroll is coming out, that they can say, right, normally advanced markets is filling much better in these events, so I will fill from advanced markets. How advanced has the order routing got in terms of news events, out of interest?
Yeah, absolutely. I can speak about that. I think maybe Evgeny can pitch in more from the technology perspective on the smart order routing. But in terms of the news execution, I think from the liquidity perspective, it's obviously the access that you have. The more liquidity sources you have, the better you perform in general during the news events, because not just NFP, but I mean any also abnormalities in the market. It comes down to basically liquidity shrinking, and some of the banks or non-banks pulling their pricing out, and so you really need to have a diversified set of liquidity providers to provide that better, superior access during the news events. But in terms of smart order routing, I think it's much more nowadays than just well, I got the order and I routed to the best price. I mean, particularly during the news events, the smart order routing also revolves around ability to detect and hunt that hidden liquidity in the market, ability to capture execution capabilities using some execution algorithms and things like that. So I think with time, I mean, we've had the quite a leap in terms of smart order routing development and technology that allows you to do much more sophisticated things than just route an order to the best price.
Okay. Right, guys. Well, that's rounding up my. Sorry, go on, Evgeny. One last answer to this.
Thanks. Most of the smart order routers I have dealt with are not really smart. They usually offer some order sweeping algo or full amount execution or combination of the two. They rarely go beyond manual configuration of the LP's priorities, and most brokers need anything substantially more advanced than with their currently monthly volumes, and their level of trust in technology is limited, so they don't invest into some advanced AI things. So there is no dynamic routing apart from taking into account like the limits against a certain counterparty, or maybe the depth of market provided by a certain LP. That's about it. But the next wave of smart order routing probably will score the LPs and remember their performance in a correlation with volatility, client order characteristics, and other market conditions, including some external data from various sources, perhaps the news, but we are not there yet.
So we're talking about machine learning here for the audience. We're all familiar with the term AI and machine learning, but Evgeny, you're suggesting that today there's very limited amounts of machine learning used in order routing. If I understand.
This is exactly so. Yes.
Okay, interesting. So I want to move on because I'm noticing the time and we've got lots to get through. And my next subject is to talk about reliability. And the first issue I want to talk about and go back to Andreas is to look at the cloud. We're all familiar with the cloud, Microsoft, Google, etc., AWS, etc. But I think in financial services, the cloud is slightly different. And I'm interested to know, what are the advantages the cloud has brought to the industry? And when we're in a financial industry where we have to be super secure, is a cloud reliable enough? And if so, why? So, Andreas.
Absolutely, yes. The cloud is the most reliable solution. You minimize your downtime, your consistency, and you can scale up and down at any moment that you choose to. Also, cloud can offer you security protocols, security certificates, ISO, PCI, and several others. You have a constant, reliable access, a 24/7 support team all year round. And in this way, it can never be compared with an in-premise, in-house data center hosted by a set of engineers of your own company.
Okay, do you actually know any brokers? Are there people that aren't using the cloud these days, or would you say now the industry has completely moved to the cloud?
It's not completely moved to the cloud, but 80 to 90% are currently using a financial data center and also a network accelerator. And they don't use the public internet to use pricing and execution.
Okay. So next question, moving on there, you talk about financial clouds, and I want to pose this to Chris. We're familiar with AWS, etc. But why is it important to use a financial focused cloud? And I'm specifically thinking like Equinix has become very famous, and you have Beeks, I think it's called. What are the advantages for a broker of using something like Equinix instead of AWS, Chris? And how does MetaQuotes work with cloud technology?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you from experience, from what I see brokers using when they're telling me that they're going to install their platform. I see that they are using all three of them. They are using Equinix, they are using AWS, they are using Beeks. So it's totally up to them what they want to use. I haven't seen any reliability issues with any of the three. It's obvious for someone that he wants to use Equinix data centers is definitely to have a cross connection with interbank liquidity or with other non-bank liquidity providers, definitely. But what you need to understand here, what is more focused on this subject, is that almost all of the brokers are on the cloud, whether it's a public cloud or a private cloud or a hybrid cloud between the two. And when we're talking about the hybrid cloud, it can be either an Equinix with AWS as well. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to leverage this technology so they don't need to have their own in-house stuff, to worry about maintenance, to worry about scalability, to deploy more servers. And the good thing is that everything is on demand. On demand, they can add more memory, more CPU, more bandwidth. But from my experience, I've seen all types of brokers using all of these three services. But what I would say, which broker is going to host on Equinix is going to be the A-book type of broker that needs to execute everything on their liquidity provider immediately with the least possible latency, milliseconds and microseconds. And also for the hybrid type of brokers, which they are both A-book and B-book.
Natalia, I mean, obviously, as a liquidity provider, answering Chris's question, is colocation important for you?
Yeah, for us, it's absolutely critical. I mean, we're in Equinix facilities in New York and London and in Hong Kong. A reason being is, of course, we want to be co-located and cross-connected to our liquidity providers as well as institutional venues where we price clients, right? I mean, like FXall, 360T, and so on and so forth. And in terms of our clients' access, if they're looking to do a book type of execution with advanced markets, of course, it is advantageage to them to be also cross-connected to us. And for that matter, I mean, they can use Beeks or any other VPS/hosting providers. And those providers typically, either already have a cross-connect into us, or one can be established, and that gives advantage again of speed as well as quote delivery. It's much faster. And if it's cross-connect, you don't bump into internet issues, so you just have, a more reliable quote stream. That mentioning all of that, one has to consider that there is, of course, additional costs to be in Equinix data center. There is additional costs for cross-connecting with provider. And what Chris Andreas just said, is, it's all about the model, right? Like some people may not need it if they are, warehousing the risk and they need more or less just reliable quote stream. And, if you are looking to, do back-to-back hedging, you might benefit, more from being in the same facility as your liquidity provider. And of course, Equinix is where most of the financial institutions are hosted, and that's why a lot of FX participants on both sides, are also in those locations.
Do you see Equinix being challenged in that area?
I don't think in the short term. I think, in fact, a lot of on the margin side of things, people are just kind of catching up to that, connectivity game. When we're talking about margin brokers.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute there. Maor, you want to say something, please?
Yeah, cloud is just a buzzword. When a broker, if you're a broker and you want to host your MT4, I recommend MT5, but whatever platform, choose the right hosting provider. There's a lot of small details in how to host the infrastructure required to the trading platform, but there are also a lot of other parts in this infrastructure. And when we speak about financial cloud, like in marketing cloud, it's all about the connectivity. Natalia was speaking about the LP and the colocation. It's highly important, but when a client have a margin call and I want to send him a push notification about maybe you want to deposit more in order to sustain the position, or when I want to quickly approve the KYC document, and when I want all this orchestra playing together, I want the thing to be connected. And it's called the financial cloud, but it doesn't need to be in the cloud. I think that the broker should have some sensitive information that is off cloud. In general, when we're looking on investment, we are before the area of post-cloud. We see companies actually going back from the cloud. One of the key elements that we saw in the market in the last year is that there was some cyber attacks on big brokers, and most of them, the vulnerabilities could be prevented if they would reconfigure the cloud. If you just use the cloud as it is, you don't reconfigure the system for security and performance, it won't work. So cloud is really just a buzzword. I highly recommend brokers not to try to host their system, but go to companies that
just getting back to that, Maor, you were talking about the security of cloud. That's an interesting point. I guess we've all grown up thinking, we used to always have virus software on our laptops. How secure are not laptops? How secure is the cloud nowadays? Equinix. Should we be storing our data on there? Bearing in mind the recent laws in Europe about personal data and such forth. How does a broker confront this issue?
So it doesn't matter if it's on the cloud or if it's next to you. Yes, in the cloud, there are some systems that can have more scalability, but with the right infrastructure, you can do it anywhere. The main tip that I can give is don't store the information in every element of your system. For example, if you have a trading platform, you don't need to have, other than the account ID, you don't need to have the phone number and email there. Put it on a secure database. Don't put it on the CRM, put it on a secure database. Today, with crypto is the buzz, but with cryptographic security and encryption, you can encode the data that even your employees are not exposed to the data, and they can see the data per request or per when they click on it. But the main tip is to put like a safe where all the data is stored in a safe, and every system, if it's on the cloud or if it's hosted locally, can go and take the specific data that they need, and then you can also do an audit and see which person, which unit, which component got access to the data. Because usually when we're talking about cyber attacks, usually they go to the weakest point in the organization, or from a software perspective, to the weakest element. And suddenly you have an element that is starting to request data that usually don't request this data. So even if you're using the cloud, usually people think that if you're the system in the cloud, everything is okay. But it's very easy to go into the cloud. But even within the cloud, you need to have an infrastructure that have specific privileges to every element in the system to prevent a data leakage.
So what was interesting is the amount of times you mentioned data in that. And I'm actually going to push this question to Evgeny. Should brokers, brokers these days seem to be very different animals to what they were before, in the sense that they're much more data-led. I mean, are brokers now changing into basically data organizations with some sort of execution capability on top? I mean, talking about what Maor just said about security, people having to be able to have access to data and secure that data. I guess data is becoming a more important aspect of a brokerage than it was before. What do you think, Evgeny?
It's the trend, but are brokers becoming data organizations? I don't think so. They claim they do, but it's a long way for them. So it's an unpopular opinion because it's like socially acceptable to speak how everybody is becoming a data-driven organization and how data is the new oil, but few orgs can actually do something with the data. Even to collect it is just usually a silo of marketeers who collect clicks from the website, or at best case from the trading interface UI. But they can't cope with this data.
But if
why not? Why not?
But if they're not data ready, like you say, isn't that a risk, Maor? Like what Evgeny's saying, that these companies aren't as data friendly as they should be. Is that where the weak spot is that you were talking about?
So there are two things. There is a security point of view. In today's market, to acquire a client costs $1,000. So if I can take some hackers from UK and take 100,000 clients from a database, it's worth a lot of money. So people today, the dark side of the industry is investing a lot in order to penetrate to brokers. Unfortunately, our industry is not really strong on data security. At least most of the brokers that we're seeing, a lot of the time we're coming into an event in order to help from our experience. But data organization, it's a different thing. It's when you have a lead, are you prioritizing who should I call first and who most probably will become a VIP? And I think that in today's market, any company that is not a data company, they're going to lose the game. Because I will give you an example. If a client is registering on a website of a broker and is with iPhone 12, most probably will be a VIP client more than an old version of an Android. And today we can see it in the gaming, and I think also that's the reason why MetaQuotes developed Finteza, and that's a great product. Broker must be data driven. To tell you more than that, they need to be also mobile data driving. The fact that not all brokers are doing it, that's great for the brokers that are doing it. And it's not a lot, it's just collecting the data. Today, you don't need to have an analyst, AI analyst inside. We are actually in the company, we have only one person. Most of the Google and Amazon services, they're chewing the data and giving you the insights. So I agree that most of the brokers are not data driven, but they're putting money on the table if they're not is putting it as a strategy for 2021.
I'm afraid I've got to cut you there because time is marching on, and we've got one big subject to tackle before we go into our final phase, and that's UI and UX. I'm not going to be able to ask all the questions I'd wanted to, but I'm going to pose one to Andreas first. You have trading platforms. How important is UI, UX to you and your platform, and what is the most important aspect of UI and UX for you?
UX is one of the most important aspects of any system, and especially a trading system. Users always like to have a user-friendly interface, large icons, large text, and an intuitive buttons where they can easily execute their strategy. They can see the chart, the historical executions and trading, and they can easily deposit, withdraw, upload their documents. So basically, you have to make it as easy as possible, and also you need to do the same for the back office engineers, the CRM, the risk management, the reporting. Everything must be easy and accessible for them to find quickly and do their jobs and go on with their life.
Okay, interesting. Chris, to you about MetaQuotes. How interested is MetaQuotes in UI and UX? You've had a trading platform out there for many years. How much emphasis do you as a company put on that, and which areas are important for you?
Yeah, so from our side, we created a platform that is robust, is reliable, is fast, and it's designed also to cater for multi-asset. So by trying to add all the tools in one place to make available for the traders to be able to do their technical analysis, to their fundamental analysis, to have access to news, economic calendar, to copy trading, to algo trading, to their backtesting, to run their VPS, everything from one interface, and all of these now to be connected with a community of hundreds of thousands of traders, coders, and other participants in the MetaTrader community. I think we did an amazing job, and it's like the traders, they got used to it. They are looking for this interface. It's like the industry standard in terms of trading Forex and CFDs. And also now,
can I cut you there, Chris?
Yes, into the multi-asset. Now, let me finish. We thought also about the idea of making something very simple with just a buy and a sell button, something that is totally simple for the very novice traders. But you need to think, the novice trader that is there to trade only once or twice, it's not the trader that is going to stay with you longer. The trader that is going to stay with you longer, they want to get the full suit of the solution.
So you mentioned that just now, it's become an industry standard, and I think we all agree the MT4 screen, MT5 screen is an industry standard, but it hasn't changed much over the years. Why is that? Was that on purpose, or same way as Bloomberg, for example? I've known Bloomberg, the terminal, for over 20 years, and behind Bloomberg has become incredibly powerful with data and other things, but the front end is very similar to what it was when I first started in the markets, and is similar to MetaQuotes, I'm guessing. Is that a chosen reason, or why is that, out of interest?
I think because it's once you start trading, you will see that it's very convenient the way that is plotted and so on, but a lot of things have changed, which is not visible as soon as you go into the platform. For an example, we have added tutorials for traders to learn and to take tips on how to use the platform. We have added built-in chat so the traders can chat between themselves. We have added solutions to be able to deposit straight from the terminals. We have added financial news as well. So we haven't made drastic changes in the actual interface. It's because we see that this is what the market wants when they're going for MetaTrader. And even if they are not familiar with MetaTrader, they can find a lot of resources on how to use it and so on.
How do you test that? Do you do a lot of A/B testing, or do you have user groups? Do you get feedback before you release something, out of interest? Could you explain a little bit more?
What we have, we release some beta testing internally of the platform. So it's being tested internally within our company. And also a few days later, we allow also beta testing for the actual brokers. So any broker with a MetaTrader license, they can update the system. There is a possibility to update with beta version, and they can start using it either on their demo or their development server, or even on their production server, although we don't recommend it. And we can also get feedback from them. And if there is anything wrong, we make the updates and so on.
Okay. One last question on this area before I want to get on to the last topic. Evgeny, automation and bots, you and I have talked about this a lot over the years. Are trading platforms now ready for this kind of automation? What are your thoughts on this?
Speaking of algo trading bots, you mean?
Or any kind of the bots. It could
Well,
be a news bot, could be any.
The automation on the back office side, on the broker side, is already pretty high, and whatever the remaining routine tasks are out there, they are automated by bots or any other scripts whenever there is a need, and APIs with the desired functionality. But on the client side, many scenarios are still manual, and many brokers are not that keen on providing B2C APIs. So whenever possible, advanced traders will use bots to gather information and generate signals for their trading systems, as well as automate their trading activity end to end. That's my take.
Okay. I'm now going to move on to, I guess, my predictions for the future with you guys. You guys have been in the industry for a long time, and I want you to choose one buzzword that you think is going to be around for the remainder of next year, maybe the year after. And you're not allowed to use AI. You're not allowed to use machine learning. You have to look at something that you feel is going to give value to our listeners, and your thoughts on that, and explain it a little bit. So Maor, can you come first with your thoughts on that?
Thank you for giving me the chance to speak. Actually, it's UX. You touched the point. I think, like in a restaurant, you can have the great dish, right? You can take this guy platform. It's amazing platform. They invented the charting. You want to do an analysis, go back to 19 whatever. But in today's market, it's all about the user experience from A to start. When you go to the restaurant, the greeting you get, the time it takes the service person to come to you. When you have an issue with the platform, the technical person that is speaking with you, the level of service, the brand. I think brokers in the next year or two will do similar to what the gaming industry is doing, is just tweaking the experience. And I think automation is a big part in order to allow small teams to serve a huge number of clients without taking compromise on the user experience. And I think there's a lot of work to be done, and user experience, that's the most important thing, because then you have a loyal customer, and a loyal customer affect the bottom line of the business.
Okay, thank you. Natalia, by the way, Maor, I happen to agree with you very much, and I'll be interested to talk more about that later. Natalia, I don't know whether your point is going to come from liquidity or platforms, but I'm very interested to hear what you are going to say.
Yeah, so since not allowed to use some of the buzzwords, I mean, the only one that I can think about that is on everyone's mind, particularly this past 6 months, is digital transformation. I think that is, I mean, this trend, and we kind of covered that in our chit chat prior to the start of this conference, is about how do businesses just generally transform themselves in this new the whole digital world because we're not sure when pandemic is going to end, and we see FX and non-FX businesses transform themselves, transform their processes, procedures, and becoming more digital because we are forced to do that given the lack of that in-person interaction. I mean, we are on this fully digital conference right now, which is something that we really haven't done much in the past 10, 12 years. There are all sorts of processes being automated when we're talking about client onboarding. And as far as it goes to the with brokerages, I think with brokerages, I mean, my view on brokerages is always been that their core activity is marketing, and a lot of that activity has to change, given what we're going through and the entire world is going through right now. So I think not just marketing but other aspects as well. So digital transformation, I think it was already there as a buzzword, but right now it's on the a huge acceleration trajectory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. I got to cut you there. Andreas, a quick response to that. What do you feel is going to be the buzzword for next year and the year after?
Of course, I agree with both Maor and Natalia, and also I will add that mobile apps need to be upgraded and add more features. The clients and the brokers would like to do everything from a mobile app. They want to have deposits, they want to have their CRM and have a full access from a mobile platform. We are already seeing a growth in the mobile apps, and we believe that eventually 90 to 95% of all usage will be happening from a mobile app.
Where is it now, out of interest, mobile apps?
It's 50 to 60%.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Evgeny, I'm worried that they're eating up all the buzzwords and there are not many left, but I'm hoping you'll be able to inspire us with some more.
Let me take a futuristic hat on. So remember a few years ago, it was like mobile first approach. So the next gen would be a voice first approach. As we are getting used to smart speakers and learn how to perform basic operations with voice, probably you have Alexa or Google Assistant or Siri. The new interfaces, the new trading interfaces are coming. Users will benefit from multimodal mode. We will combine voice, visual, and touch interface capabilities as well as support of gestures. So I believe that soon we shall see voice-activated trading assistants living inside or outside trading platforms that will accompany traders and help them trade smarter and improve their skills, pretty much like it is now with gaming industry.
I can see that in the future. Someone's going to be saying, right, buy my groceries on Amazon, and suddenly the Alexa speaker is going to buy at $100 worth of Amazon shares or something. Suddenly my voice assistant on my phone gets mixed up. So hopefully that won't happen. Chris, finally to yourself, last but not least, tell me, what are your thoughts about the future?
My thought is that the future is starting now. And I'm going to focus more about automation because it's going to be one of the key trends that is already started, but it's going to be extended to the next level. So the automation is going to be applied from the moment that the system is going to be able to onboard for you the clients, from the moment that somebody clicks on your website, open an account, to be able to open an account, to upload his documents. The document is going to be verified automatically. The system is going to open for him a live account to verify his passports and his source of funds and everything. And the system is also going to communicate with the client without the need for any human intervention. Now, what I just said now, it's already available. Now, taking this a step further, the system is also going to be able to administer the platform for you, to administer the trading technology. For an example, somebody made a deposit. The system is going to be able to move him from this type of group to a VIP type of group if he deposited a certain amount of money, and also take a type of bonus. The system is going to do all of this automatically as well. And all the trading activities is going to be happening also automatically. For an example, the trader is going to be able to run his algos, or maybe connected with another system, or if it's an advanced trader, to be able to run this through machine learning techniques or artificial intelligence techniques, whether this is Python or whether it's R language or whether it's some type of different kind of machine learning and or neural networks. Now, all of this that I just mentioned now, it's available in the trading technology and especially in MetaTrader 5. Now, it's all about the brokers to realize that this is what's happening and for them to focus, not to let their stuff go, but to focus on what they know how to do best, how to get more business, how to bring more clients, how to expand further, and so on.
Okay, that's great. So I think we've just about come to the end of our talk now. I would like to thank everyone who's joined me in the panel today. Natalia from Boston, who's woken up early for us, all the way to everyone else who's in Europe, I believe. And that's it. And thank you very much for the listeners listening to us. And thank you very much for our host today as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.